Alright guys, next video in this whole series. Now that everything's been opened up and unboxed and we looked at everything, now we're going to start cutting off mold lines, because that's probably the funnest part of this entire hobby, I'm sure. So, private press's metal stuff is usually pretty clear, pretty straightforward. If there is anything, I'm seeing one that runs down the center of this torso that we're going to have to get at. These shoulder pads aren't too much of a big deal because a lot of this stuff underneath you're not going to be seeing. The arms are actually pretty clear. I only got a couple on these big old arms, which is pretty impressive to see. They usually do them to where the lines end up at the edge of the arms, or like the gauntlets and stuff. So it's pretty easy to get at these because they're easy to find. The engine block is almost entirely clean. I don't see anything on the engine block, so that might actually be done. I'm gonna do a little bit on the bottom here, but not a whole lot. So I'm just gonna see if I can get closer to the camera and start getting at these. And I'm just using the same knife that I used to open this box with. I mean, it's not you don't need to use a razor blade or a razor or anything like that. You can use whatever, really. So personal preference. I'm just gonna grab this, and it's a little bit difficult to see because the model is, of course, a bright silver color. So I'm just gonna shave those off. Nice smooth bottom. Nothing on that other than that one, really. There's maybe one that runs on this box here, running over these lines. Other than that, that's pretty much it. Very clean pieces on privateer press stuff, which I like. I think I've said this before, at least a couple of times. I mean, it takes a bit of work out of the hobby, which is nice. You know, you don't have to get in there and do some really not meaningless, but sort of just boring stuff. I mean, you want to get to the painting, you want to get to the assembly, you want to look at this thing as it's done, so you want to get that done as quickly as possible. I'm just running over all the lines. Matter of fact, these shoulder lines aren't real important. It's these lines that are on the middle of the torso, because the shoulder lines are almost going to be entirely covered by shoulder pads and then spikes and then, you know, all manner of horrible. So you don't really need to get at them. Sometimes you would think, you know, hey, you need to get at them so that you can glue stuff properly together, but most of the time it's not really an issue. It's not really a factor in assembly. So it's not entirely essential. Like, I'm just gonna leave them because, I mean, they're not gonna get in the way for me. I'm not too worried about them getting in the way. These shoulder pads have just little ones, real small ones on the edges, and those will come off real easy. So, why this model? We've already had a good discussion on why it's so cool. It looks really cool. I mean, aesthetically, it's pretty pleasing. I mean, I'm one for aggressive looking stuff. I used to play Korn Berserkers in 40K. I used to be a big Korn fan. Still am, really. I love an aggressive playstyle. By the way, if the dog barks, because I got a dog in here for today. Not my dog, I'm babysitting a dog. I'm really sorry. But I'm a big Korn fan from 40K. I played Korn Army. I played a Korn Army in Warhammer. Who doesn't love red? I mean, red's a great color to paint. It's real easy. It's about as easy as blue is. There's no white on this model at all, which I'm pretty psyched about, because we all know how I love painting white. It's just a good, I mean, it's a fun jack. It's got a lot of character. Like, we'll take for a second to analyze things from different games. And of course, we're going to try our hand at Warhammer first, because that's the big one that people talk about a lot. Warhammer's got some character units. It's got, you know, special units, but there's just not any flavor. There's not depth to it, because every unit in that game is pretty cookie cutter. If you look at most heavy leader units, they have Eternal Warrior, and that's a generic rule that's shared among these big units, you know. And so it's like you're going to expect a degree of similarity when you look at all of these units in 40K. And I mean, that's okay for most people, you know, they don't mind, but it's just like, I want some variety, I want some special feeling to my units, I want character, you know, because I'm gonna spend 8 hours painting this thing, I want it to be special, because it is special to me. You know, I went out and got this, because it's just got a unique personality of its own. And it looks cool. I mean, come on, it looks cool as shit, dude. It's got 2 axes. I mean, come on. Big old giant robot with 2 axes. I mean, who can say that's cool? So these axe arms are actually pretty clean. There's a couple of pieces of flash. Flash, I don't know if I've ever explained what flash is. Flash is pieces of metal that remain on the model after it's broken out of the ejection. So here we can see a piece right here. I can see if I can focus this bitch. Oh, autohook. Turn the autofocus back on. Hold the knife in my teeth. Okay. You just hiccup, and that's real safe, putting the knife in my teeth. Okay, so you might be able to barely see. Maybe if I get something black. Let me see if I have something black real fast. Black would be great right now. Use the back of the box, kind of. Okay. The box is shiny. I think it'll work either. Well, I don't have anything black to use, but you can see if I can get you to see this as best I can. Angle my hand correctly. You can see this piece of metal. It's just like a real faint piece of metal just kind of hanging off right there. As close as I humanly possibly can. Nope, camera's freaking out. There you go, you can see it. It's just hanging off right there. It's just a piece of metal that after the mold is broken, it is a little extra piece. And we call that flash. It's not necessarily mold line because it's slightly different. You got a piece of an entire piece of metal that doesn't belong there. So we're going to clip both of those off real quick. Oh, there was one on the other side as well. Let's give that a quick flick. It's more important to take off pieces of flash than it is to take off mold lines, trust me. Flash will look like, it'll look gross. Like it's a random piece of metal that does not belong there, and you can really tell if you paint that stuff over. It's really, really, really obvious, and it looks terrible. That's done. Here's the legs. We didn't even look at the legs yesterday. It's a set of running legs. The other peg is in the box there. It's the other foot and the pegs that go into the base. Having a look at this, and you can get a big old piece of flash right here. See how it folds off? See if I can show you that too. Let's have a look. Okay, so angle this right, and it's chilling out right there. A big piece of metal that does not belong. If you would focus, you piece of shit. Anyway, we'll just take it off. This is reality. Let me tell you something, because this is something that is reoccurring. This is a great camera. Don't get me wrong. This camera is a great camera. It is a webcam. I think it's a Logitech like C99 something or other. Let me have a look. See. It is a no, can't tell. Anyways, it is a good webcam. It's not cheap. It was good stuff. I mean, it's got some problems with macro. That's all it is. And looking at these legs, seeing no more problems with these legs. Everything's real clean. Prior to your press stuff is just outstanding. I don't have to worry about any of that stuff. Let's do this last axe handle. And this thing's pretty clean looking. The top bit's a little bit mold lined. That's no big deal. I'm just gonna scrape along the head of the axe just to get that stuff off. And just down the back as well. And up the side. And there we go. Perfect axe head. And sometimes you can leave mold lines because it'll actually add to the texture of what you're trying to do. Like I'm going to leave this one here that's on the actual point of the axe because it makes the point even sharper looking. And so if you were to rub that off, the axe, you know, the blade part would look pretty flat, you know, because you're shaving off that part of the metal. So I'm just going to leave it to make it actually look sharper in its own right. So sometimes it would be beneficial to actually leave stuff. And this is in a situation where it's okay. And if you paint it over, you won't be able to even tell it's a mold line because it's right on the sharp tip of the axe. So that's all the parts flashed. We do need to cut these bits out. These spikies that go on the shoulder pads. I'm just going to snip these out real quick. No real rhyme or reason to this. Just take scissors, pluck those out. They do have pegs, so you want to make sure that you don't cut the pegs that are on them, because then you won't be able to stick them into things, and that would be bad. And there goes something flying. There's a quick little piece of mold right there. There you go. So, and see, this is flash here. You see this? Here's the mold. You can see this kind of U-shaped piece, and then this big old piece of metal that's kind of there. And you can see this big old piece of metal that's hanging off the spike there also. Those are pieces of flash that you need to get off. Not this big piece, obviously, because it's on the part of the mold that you're going to cut. This big piece that's on the spike, you're going to need to get that off, because it looks like ass. And then, of course, pluck out your spiky bits. Stuff like this that's really thin, you could even just kind of wiggle the metal, and the piece will come free. But I'm just, just snip it out for fast. So real quick stuff. And that's it. That's all the mold lines. Check the base. Run my finger around the base to make sure everything's smooth. I got a real faint little crack here. I'm just gonna run the knife over it. Make sure it's smoothed out. Because when you paint it, you don't want this to have this big gash in it. There we go. And that's everything mold. The line's cleaned up. Everything's got it's all done up. Everything's all chiseled up. So we're gonna get to assembly, and we'll get on to that. So thanks a lot for watching, guys, and we'll see you in the next video. Cheers! Cheers! Cheers!